Corporate political strategy examines how businesses navigate, shape, and respond to the political environments around them. These environments can influence competition, opportunities, constraints, and the choices leaders make. The central idea is that political conditions are part of the business landscape, not something separate from it. In this presentation, I'll focus on the concepts in business environments that help explain why corporate political strategies matter and how they can affect a company's competitive position. Politics is not separate from business strategy. It helps define the environment in which every organization operates. Regulations, tax policy, trade laws, and public sentiment can all influence costs, opportunities, and competitive conditions. The key idea is that companies should not simply react to political forces after decisions are made. By engaging proactively, they can anticipate change, communicate their interests, and help shape the rules that affect their industry. In that sense, political awareness is not a side activity. It is a strategic capability that can create meaningful advantage. Corporate political strategy refers to the deliberate actions a firm takes to shape government policy in ways that support its interests. The goal is not simply influence for its own sake. It is to reduce uncertainty, protect the company's competitive position, and create more favorable conditions for operating. Importantly, this strategy can extend across multiple levels of government, from local decisions and national legislation to international regulations. In other words, firms engage with the public policy environment wherever government decisions may affect their opportunities, risks, or ability to compete. This slide outlines 4 ways firms try to influence public policy. The first is information, using research, lobbying, and expert testimony to shape how policymakers understand an issue. Second, financial incentives build relationships through PACs, campaign contributions, and other support. Third, constituency building turns employees, customers, and communities into grassroots advocates. Finally, collective action extends a company's reach by joining trade associations and industry coalitions. Together, these strategies combine knowledge, relationships, public support, and coordinated industry influence to advance the firm's interests in the legislative process. The first strategy is information and lobbying, where firms work directly with legislators and regulators through professional lobbyists or in-house government relations teams. The central idea is to shape policy by supplying expertise and maintaining access. Firms may provide proprietary research and industry data, offer expert testimony to legislative committees, draft model legislation favorable to their interests, and build long-term relationships with key officials. This approach is especially common in the pharmaceutical, defense, and technology industries, which are among the heaviest users of information-based strategies. Strategy 2 focuses on financial incentives and political action committees, or PACs. Contributions do not guarantee favorable votes, but they can create access to elected officials who might otherwise be difficult for firms to reach. It's important to distinguish the mechanisms involved. PACs are legally structured committees that pool employee contributions for political donations. Super PACs operate independently and face higher spending limits. Soft money refers to unregulated contributions made to party organizations. Together, these channels illustrate how financial support can influence access without guaranteeing a specific legislative outcome. Strategy 3 is constituency building. Rather than speaking alone, firms amplify their voice by activating stakeholders who share their interests. Employees may contact representatives about policies affecting jobs and operations. Loyal customers can be rallied around regulatory or trade issues that might influence product availability or pricing. Firms may also build community coalitions by partnering with local governments and civic groups. Together, these efforts demonstrate broader support for the firm's political position, making its message appear less like a narrow corporate interest and more like a shared community concern. Collective action is about turning individual interests into a shared industry voice. No single firm can match the political weight of an entire sector speaking in unison. Through trade associations, such as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, firms can share the cost of lobbying while expanding their reach and influence. This approach also reduces reputational risk, because companies are not acting entirely on their own. It is especially valuable for smaller firms, which may lack the resources to advocate effectively by themselves. Strategy selection depends on context, not a one-size-fits-all formula. Firm size and resources matter. Larger organizations may support dedicated lobbying teams, while smaller firms often work through trade associations. Industry type is also important, since highly regulated sectors, such as banking, pharmaceuticals, and utilities face greater political pressure. Timing matters too. Imminent legislation or regulatory change can push firms to act quickly and assertively. Finally, competition shapes behavior. When rivals are politically active, a firm may need to respond to avoid falling behind. Several influences can shape a firm's political strategy beyond the issue itself. Organizational culture matters. Companies with a strong tradition of civic engagement are more likely to take proactive positions. Reputation risk also affects the choice of tactics. High-profile brands may avoid direct lobbying if they fear consumer backlash, and instead work through coalitions. Geographic reach adds complexity, since multinationals must respond to several regulatory environments at once. Finally, the higher the political stakes, the stronger the motivation to engage. Together, these factors determine both whether a firm participates and how visibly it does so. The key takeaway is that 4 core strategies: information, financial incentives, constituency building, and collective action serve different purposes. The best fit depends on firm size, industry, regulatory exposure, and competition. Most importantly, strategy is dynamic. Successful firms combine approaches and adapt as the political environment changes.